Welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another malicious compliance Reddit video. In our first story, a medical clerk made me stand outside in 104-degree heat. Let's jump right in. This took place during the first summer of lockdown where I live. Some context for you, my town is basically on the edge of nowhere. We have a medical center for basic stuff, but a full hospital is 30 to 40 minutes in any direction depending on where you choose to go. With that in mind, we get people from a huge surrounding area that go to our town center for tests, simple medical exams, etc. Maybe as many as 50 small communities use our center on a daily basis, so it is constantly busy. The center itself is quite small compared to hospitals in the city. The various clinics and the basic ER take up most of the space, with an area by the front doors for the public to sit in if they are waiting for a ride or someone visiting a doctor. It is that waiting area that is the cause for my story today. One day during the first summer of lockdown here, I had to go to the medical center for tests. Some things to know about me. I am challenged with multiple disabilities. I am legally blind, have significant mobility and balance issues, and a rather severe heart condition. As such, I use a walking frame and travel using the city's provided disabled transports. That particular day, I had finished my tests early and had 45 minutes to wait until my transport was scheduled to return to pick me up. I figured, no problem, I'll just sit in the waiting area and, well, wait. Haha. I shuffled over to the seats with my walker plainly evident and was confronted by a new sign, staff only. Say what now? I looked around at all the empty seats and vacant tables and turned to the clerks at the entrance. Can I please have a seat in the waiting area until my transport comes back? No, it's staff only. You need to wait outside. I can't stand for 45 minutes waiting for my transport. I gestured to my plainly apparent walking frame that I was clearly leaning heavily on. Not my problem. There are benches to sit on outside. The benches are full, and we are supposed to be social distancing, not cuddling up to random strangers on a park bench. If you want, I suppose I could let you take a wheelchair out and sit in that. And how am I to manage a wheelchair and my walking frame at the same time? Again, not my problem. If you want, you can call center management when you get home. Are we done here? I guess we are done, huh? And then I went outside to find a spot to wait. Well, I stood outside for the 45 minutes while the sun beat down on what turned out to be a 104 degrees Fahrenheit day. As I stood there, I noticed that there was a line of patients growing steadily longer, also standing outside in the heat, waiting to be let into the building. Some looked fit, but let's face it, nobody comes to a medical center because they feel 100%. Most of them looked quite ill, and some were looking pretty faint by the time they got through the doors. By the time my transport arrived, I was badly sunburned, thirsty as hell, exhausted, and feeling more than a bit faint myself. My driver was shocked and insisted on walking me to my front door when he got me home to make sure that I was okay. Shout out to all transport drivers, you guys rock. The rest of the day was a complete loss. I spent it drinking water, sleeping, and nursing the burns on my shoulders and face, lol. I was a right mess. The next day, however, I was pissed. I had plenty of time to recover and to think, and I kept coming back to that line of patients standing in the heat. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Malicious compliance. The words the clerk so smugly said, "You can call center management when you get home if you want," danced through my sun-baked brain like a mantra. So I called center management. What followed was a half-hour conversation with the sweetest lady. She was so nice and so upset when I told her all that went on the day before. She was especially concerned when she found out about the line of people waiting outside on what turned out to be the hottest day we had that summer. After our talk, the manager promised to look into it and to get back to me. Now, normally that's sort of a brush off, right? Not so with this lady. 2 days later, she called me back, Turned out she had spent the day before sitting at the clerk's desk observing things that went on. Things like patients being forced to stand in the rain waiting to get into the center, patients being poorly spoken to by the same clerk, and the cherry on top, at one point a tiny elderly lady tried to sit down in the waiting area, and the same clerk ran over and rudely shoved her aide and snapped "staff only" with her boss sitting right there. The manager went over, tore down the signs, apologized to the lady and helped her to a seat, then took the clerk into her office for a chat. The results. The center was immediately restructured. Staff were moved into an unused gift shop, the waiting room was returned to the public, and best of all, the registry desks were moved so patients no longer had to stand outside waiting to get into the building. I never saw that clerk there again. I know this isn't as exciting as most stories on here, but knowing I was part of making things so much better for so many people still makes me happy. Dang it, I am proud of my mini coup. Viva resistance and all that crap. Here's an edit to add. Thank you all for all the positive feedback and awards. You really make this human feel loved. Story number 2. My boss tries to transfer me to a terrible position for my mental health. It didn't work out. There's a good bit of history behind this, but essentially I was injured after being attacked at work. I developed PTSD and eventually had to go on sick leave. I was sent to the organization's medical officer for assessment. He sent me for an independent assessment because he didn't believe I had PTSD. Independent medical assessment not only said I had PTSD, but that it was directly as a result of my injury at work. I was given reduced hours at full pay and a position away from the public for at least 3 months. I applied for some unpaid leave for the end of the 3 months to spend some time with my family and prepare myself before I went back full time. I spoke with my line manager during this time and was happy to return to my old position. During this time, my district manager changed. He got wind of my absence and decided I was not genuine. He decided to transfer me to a much busier spot where I'd be dealing with a lot of difficult people. I told him straight up I was not able for that. It was the area I had been attacked in and I'd have a lot of difficulty there. He said I couldn't go back to my old spot because that's where I went sick from. Even the medical officer said there was no reason to transfer me, but the boss stuck to his guns. He said he couldn't leave me in my old spot because it would be bad for my mental health. I'd be working alone most of the time, and there was no documented reason I would have trouble in my new position. This was all in April 2020. I'm sure you know what global event was kicking off then. So I decided to get some documentation. I went to my own doctor, and he was disgusted at how I was being treated. He gave me a few tests. The weeks of stress and anxiety had raised my blood pressure and given me some breathing issues, similar to hyperventilating. I had a few other small issues too. He signed me off work for 6 weeks, citing stress-induced breathing issues and high blood pressure, and stated in a letter that these may place me at higher risk of adverse effects from COVID. My boss was not happy with this at all, so sent me back to the medical officer for assessment. The medical officer took one look at my doctor's documentation and decided to do a consult with me by phone instead of in person. He decided that I was too high risk to work with others and issued a direction that I was not to work unless it was in a well-ventilated office on my own. Otherwise, I was to be given paid leave. No such position was available, so I was placed on paid leave. Towards the end of the year, someone noticed I wasn't around. A line manager contacted me and told me I'd have to be reassessed as I couldn't expect to have free holidays. In the meantime, they'd set me up working from home. It took them till January this year to set that up. I went for reassessment again. I told the medical officer how great I was getting on working from home. The medical officer thought that me working from home was ideal, so directed it should continue indefinitely. All I wanted was to go back to my old familiar job. I should also note that they never replaced me there. It was a one-man public role and has been closed for nearly 2 years now. This is John from /bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to be the first to know when the next one drops, then subscribe. I would love for you to drop a like, share with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.